Hi again everyone. This one, I'm going through this plumbing job now, is one that I think a lot of people experience, usually at the end of summertime. What happens, you go through the summer, hopefully it's a warm one, you get to about October, if you're lucky, and you decide it's too cold, I'm going to put the central heating on. Okay, so what happens? You put the central heating on, you put the controller on, and what happens? A big fat nothing. Okay, so don't despair, don't call the central heating plumber yet, because there's some easy checks you can do yourself that's going to cost you nothing. When you've expired all of these checks, then yes, go ahead and get yourself a plumber to have a look at it. But before you do that, I'm going to take you through some simple checks. Number one, before you do anything, when you turn it on, if nothing happens, the most easiest thing, and it's something that's so simple that everybody doesn't check it, and it's so simple really you should, and that is if you follow me. I will show you, and that is this little item here. This is the room thermostat. Now when it gets to around about September, October, and you do put your heating on, sometimes 21 isn't quite enough, but you feel cold because it may have been a warmer summer and you've got used to it, and 21 no longer feels that warm, so you put your heating on, but it is actually probably 21 degrees in your house, so therefore the boiler won't ignite, because it says, as far as I'm concerned, everything is happy. And if you have it on 20, even worse, you know, there's possibly the heating definitely wouldn't come on. So a way around it, just for trying it out, will be to stick it up to around about 25. Okay, just to fire it up. That will force the boiler on. If it doesn't fire up after that, then we know we have a further problem to go. Okay, but leave it there while we're just testing for all the other things. You can go back to this and turn it off later on down to 21, turn it off to 20, 21 degrees, whichever is your preference. Okay, so that is the first major thing. And now the second thing on the list, if you've got an old boiler, by that I mean a fairly ancient 20-year-old jobby, and it's got a pilot light. I mean, there's not many with pilot lights these days, they are mainly all electronic ignition, but do just check the pilot's still on. You know, I know this is quite a simple thing, but just make sure. If it's not a pilot light model and it's electronic ignition, you'll know it's electronic because you'll let it tick 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 before it fires up. And obviously if you've got a combi boiler, there's no need to check there, that's all automatic. Okay, that's number two. Number three is to check the power is getting to the boiler and the programmer. So once again, follow me around and make sure when you get to your programmer, when you turn it on, that it does light up. You know, just make sure that it does come on. So you know, if we click this, there the light's on, and you can see that it's got power. Now what else to do? Well, turn it off, I don't want it on for now, but what else to do is go round to the boiler and make sure that the boiler is clicking and it's making a firing up noise. It should be firing. If it isn't on, there's no light on the boiler, there's no power to it, there could be a fault in this program, or more likely this programmer hasn't actually come on. So that's something else to check separately again. Okay, now if you've got a combi boiler, this is a separate thing for just used with combi boilers or pressurized systems that use a pressure and a gauge. The simple thing that usually happens over the summertime is the boiler loses a bit of pressure through evaporation, a possible leak, rad leaking faintly, or a pipe leaking under the floor possibly faintly, but a lot of times just through evaporation. And the boiler pressure gauge, if you look on your gauge by the boiler, it's either inside the boiler case or just outside of it on a little arm, and just check the pressure. If it's below 1 bar, it's probably got not enough pressure quite to fire it up. Fire it up to 1.5 bars. That's probably a little bit over. Normally between 1.2, 1.3 bars is okay, but if you take it to 1.5, it will definitely have enough pressure to light up, and that should make the boiler fire up. Okay, so that's for all you use with combis or a pressurized system where you use pressure vessels to keep the pressure up, you don't have a header tank. Okay, next, okay, this one's a fairly simple one. It's another one to check. If nothing else, if you've got the pilot is going and the light on the controller is going, you've got power to the boiler, it's firing up, but nothing much is happening. The boiler's getting so far and then switching off. Okay, so you know it's lighting, but it's not getting hot, it's just going so far and coming to a grinding halt. What next thing to check is to check if your central heating pump is running. So if you like to come down here, here's my central heating pump down here. With your system all switched on and running, just put your hand on it, at the top of it like that, and just feel if it's making a noise. Just feel if it's vibrating, is more to the point. If you can feel the vibration, you know the pump is running and you should be okay. So just check that. That's another little important one. Okay, if that is all running, okay, you know it's going. There is something else that needs checking. Now, if you've got a conventional system that is not a pressurised system, which has an F&E tank in the loft, that's a little tiny roof tank like this, a small one, and you've got a hot water cylinder and a boiler, whether it's a freestanding boiler, gas, or a wall boiler, gas, or one behind the fireplace, a Baxi type boiler, doesn't matter which one. If that's connected to a hot water cylinder and you've got an F&E tank in the loft, what else happens is, over the summertime, because you're not using the heating, the little valve in that little tank jams up. It stays where it is because what happens is you're not using the water, it's not circulating anymore. You're not evaporating the water for the arm to drop and put water into the tank. So often what happens, if you've had a nice hot long summer, especially, very rare here in England, I know, but if you have, then that arm could be stuck in that little F&E tank. So you've got to go up into the loft. I realise if you're an older person you might not want to be able to do that, but if you could get someone to go up and have a look for you, go up, locate the little tank. There's a little one about so big, a little square thing like that, and it's usually alongside your big roof tank. So it's usually right alongside that one. Find that little tank, take the covers off, and just have a look inside it with a torch. If that water level's gone, or it's just a tiny bit in the bottom, you know your valve is stuck. Your valve would be hanging in mid-air, and it's pretty simple to do really. Just get hold of that valve and shake it up and down a few times, and you'll hear the water burst through and pressurise. It'll come through. If very worst, you may have to renew that ball cock. But usually a good shake of the arm on that ball valve in the tank, shake it around, up and down like that, and the water will burst through. The pressure will enable it to go. Once that's going, it's filling up, you know you're getting water back into the system. Now, if it takes a lot of water going in there to get it filling, you may find that some air's got into the top radiators. So what you'll need to do is let that fill, and once it has filled, the system has stopped running, that little roof tank has stopped. You then need to go around all your radiators and bleed them because you've probably got air in them. So just do that before you fire up the boiler again. And then it should go. Okay, one other thing, very last thing to look at before you call out a plumber after this stage really, and that's the motorised valve. There's a motorised valve, I'll show you this one here. On most systems, especially with a hot water cylinder, not on a combi boiler again, but on this, and here's the motorised valve here. Now sometimes they jam in the hot water position, so if it is jammed on the hot water position, again it won't go around your heating system. You could have a faulty valve, but at worst what you can do, there is a lever on the side of the motorised valve. Can you see that? There's a little lever there. I'm pushing it with my finger, see it? What you can do is force that over and lock it up, and it will be in the heating position, and you should get heating around to your system. If you do have to do that, it means you've got a faulty valve and you will have to get it renewed eventually, because otherwise you'll have to have heating and hot water on together all the time. You may have two separate motorised valves. Sometimes you have two single ones, and you might find the one that controls the heating is dead, or it's not working. Again, you can pull the little lever over and manually force it to work, and that will get you by until such time as you renew the valve. Okay, really that's generally around about for all the problems. After that, I'm afraid, if it doesn't go and everything's firing, running, the tank's full, your pressure's up on the boiler, and the boiler isn't firing, then you've probably got a boiler fault, I'm afraid, and that will need, unfortunately, someone like me, central heating engineer, to come and have a look, because you may have a problem electronics wise or with any of the parts inside the boiler. Okay, but if you get to that stage, at least you've done all you can to get your system going, and these checks cost you nothing. Okay, it's free, you just do it yourself. 9 times out of 10, one of those answers is the answer to your problem, sorry. So usually one of those does do the problem, and you'll get your heating back on. Okay, well that's it from me. Hope I've been of some help to you, and as usual, my channel, Derrickton33. Please subscribe if you feel I've helped you in any way at all. Thanks very much for watching. Catch you again.